Thank you so much for your service, like Dave said, and also, for your mission with DeliverFund. It resonates, especially with me, being former law enforcement as well. I was a prosecutor in the Manhattan DA's office, and I worked on a lot of sex crimes cases involving children. And, even at the time as a young prosecutor, the amounts of trafficking right in New York City was staggering, right? It was so hard to believe. But I think you touched on something, obviously, that, from a business perspective, and Dave always says this, right? Our parents, didn't have LinkedIn. They didn't have Facebook. They only knew the 100 people in their phone book or, literally written in a notepad. But now with the internet, folks have access to everyone. I mean, I remember having a case when I was a prosecutor where the trafficker flew in from Vietnam to meet with the girl who was in New York City. The reach of these folks, it knows no bounds, and it's not just happening here. So one thing I wanted to ask you is, how can the general society, the general public, what things can they do, A, to see the signs of trafficking, and B, not to do law enforcement's jobs, but to collaborate and inform organizations like yours on things that they see that may not look the right way or may be suspicious? Because I know law enforcement's job is incredibly difficult, and there are just not enough folks on the street and on the internet at all times to monitor this stuff.
Absolutely. And not enough prosecutors either. And so, thanks for your service as a prosecutor, because we tend to look at the law enforcement officers who are kicking the doors, but the public needs to realize that without the prosecutor, all that work is for naught, right? Without judges who understand this issue, all that work is for naught. So we work very closely with prosecutors, and there's things that they always wish that people knew. And the first one is, if you're a parent, know what your kids are doing online. It is your job to be nosy and get in your children's life and understand who they're talking to and what they're doing online. The most susceptible people in the world, for the most part, are teenagers, especially teenage girls. And these traffickers start talking to them, start manipulating them. And you mentioned a human trafficker who is willing to fly from Vietnam to New York. Well, that's a heck of an investment in his business. And I promise you, he did the math, and he understands that it is worth that investment for him to fly from Vietnam to New York City to procure to him what is a product so that he can sell it for profit. So when you think about it through that lens, and this is, I think, what makes us different at DeliverFund, and what differentiates us, is we take a market risk approach to combating human trafficking by first increasing the risk by helping law enforcement and prosecutors take down human traffickers, but then also working with tech companies, working with private companies to help them get the human traffickers off their platform, get the human traffickers out of their bank, get the human trafficking or the products that were created by human trafficked labor, by slave labor, get those out of their supply chain and make it so that we're actually attacking the economics of human trafficking. And that, according to the research we've done, is the only scalable way that we're going to be able to fight human trafficking.